Welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Wednesday, the 8th of March. Good to have you aboard. We are a Blue Wire podcast. Always appreciate everybody who hangs out with us, however you're listening, be it on Apple or Spotify or Amazon or Google or iHeart. I can't list them all. I'll be here all day. Nobody wants to hear that. But however you're listening to the show, make sure you like, you rate, you comment, you do all that good stuff. We've got a fun show planned today. I'm in a great mood. Last night, you had a great Panther win. We'll get to that coming up. We're going to do a lot of NFL today. Franchise tags yesterday. Moving and shaking. Teams coming out saying they don't want, not they do want, they don't want Lamar Jackson. What does that mean? We'll get to all of that. A little bit of Dolphin news as well. And I surprised myself earlier today. I'll get to that in a second here. Of course, got to remind everybody, everything ZASLOW Show 2.0 is brought to us by our friends, and they're our friends because they help all of us when we're in need. Anidjar and Levine, accident attorneys. 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733 if you're involved in an accident. No matter what kind, boating, bicycle, motorcycle, automobile. If you're dealing with a personal injury, you got to get an attorney on the phone right away. Call 911 first. Make sure everybody's okay. And then you get an attorney on the phone immediately when you call Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys, 800-747-3733. So, first thing I got to tell, I always bring this up every time it's on television, but it's because, I don't know, it never gets old for me. So last night, Panther game's over, so we're talking, it's around 10 o'clock or what have you, 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm scrolling around the channels, what do I want to watch? And what do I come across? I come across a movie I stop on every single time. The Fugitive. That's right, The Fugitive, Harrison Ford, Tommy Lee Jones. Gotta figure, it's Tommy Lee Jones, U.S. Marshal Sam Gerard. It's gotta be Tommy Lee Jones's greatest performance, right? It's Fugitive. You can always hit me up at ZASLOW Show on Twitter, at ZASLOWJ on Instagram, where I'm an influencer. Is The Fugitive Tommy Lee Jones's greatest performance? I think it is. I stop on The Fugitive every single time. It's the most rewatchable movie there is to me. Everybody has that movie that they stop on no matter what scene it's on. I stop on The Fugitive. I'll watch the rest of the movie. Whatever else is going on, whatever else I'm doing, I'll stop on it every single time. What movie is that for you? I can't get enough of The Fugitive. It doesn't matter what scene the movie's in, I'm watching. For me, that's my movie. I'm not saying it's my favorite movie. It's not my favorite movie. I'm not saying it's the best movie. It's not the best movie. But I find it to be the most rewatchable movie. I'll stop on it every single time. I love that movie. I think it's probably Tommy Lee Jones's best performance. U.S. Marshal Sam Gerard, Dr. Richard Kimball. It was the one-armed man. I didn't kill my wife. I would tend to say, is Tommy Lee Jones the star of The Fugitive over Harrison Ford? He might be. Tommy Lee Jones might be the star over Harrison Ford. Nonetheless, that's not so important. I love that movie. There's no downtime in the movie. The whole movie is fantastic. I stop and watch The Fugitive every single time. The only drawback to watching it last night, it had commercials. I was watching it on A&E maybe? I was watching on something like A&E. So it had commercials. That sucks, all right? We love commercials in general because we got to get our sponsors out there. But in the middle of the movie, I'm in a tight scene here, so my wife hates that then when the commercial comes up for the movie. But anyway, love The Fugitive. Always stop on The Fugitive. You can hit me up at ZASLOW Show, like I said. Another thing I want to bring up. So you guys know I took my boys to go see a great family movie this weekend called Cocaine Bear. And we loved it. It was silly. It was silly and a lot of fun and nothing to not like as long as you take the movie for what it is. And I saw there are some, there's a little bit of backlash that's out there right now. It's like, Cocaine Bear, do not take your kids. It's not a kid's movie. Well, the first thing I would say is, it's rated R. There's violence. There's some scenes that are a little bit gory, for real. And the title is cocaine. Cocaine bear. There's going to be cocaine use by a bear. At least by a bear. Maybe others too, but at the very least by a bear. And spoiler alert, I'll tell you, Zell, the cubs, the baby bears, the cubs get into the cocaine as well. It's a family of cocaine bears. That's what ends up happening. But there's been a backlash where don't take your kids. This isn't for kids. We're very open in the ZASLOW family. We're very open. We're very liberal when it comes to this kind of stuff. We're very open. Now, it doesn't mean I'm letting my kids watch anything. I mean, there was a time where when the original Deadpool came out, I didn't take my older son at the time. I mean, my younger one was way too young. Didn't take him to see it because we were being urged not to take our kids to go see Deadpool. Now, Deadpool, both of them, matter of fact, are like my two boys' favorite movies. They love Deadpool. Super violent, really raunchy, really funny. I mean, he comes out. We're constantly playing the shirt cocking joke in the house. We're pooing it. You know what pooing it is. Shirt cocking, that's when you just wear the t-shirt and you got nothing else underneath. You're shirt cocking it. That's from Deadpool. You're pooing it. Because Winnie the Pooh used to run around with just the shirt. You know what I'm talking about. We love that joke from Deadpool. We're doing that all the time in the ZASLOW mansion. Anyway, that's how we roll. We're very open in this household. So we let our kids, for the most part, watch all kinds of movies, TV shows. We're pretty laxed about it. We used to be a little more, vigilant, if you will. Like, for a long time, I wasn't necessarily going to allow my kids to watch The Simpsons. I've told this story before, where, so my older son, my older son at the time, he was probably 5. Yeah, probably 5. And we hadn't introduced him to The Simpsons yet. I mean, it's a cartoon. He loves cartoons, loves Thomas the Train. Like, if he sees The Simpsons, he's going to want to watch The Simpsons. But The Simpsons ain't like Thomas the Train. It's not the same thing. And there was one Sunday evening, it was around like 7:30, whatever time The Simpsons is on, 8 p.m. And my son turns on the television. Like I said, he was like 5 years old. My son turns on the television, and the TV's on Fox, because I was watching NFL, obviously. It's Sunday. TV's on Fox. Turns on the TV, Fox is on, and so The Simpsons is on. And before I was able to, go get the remote, tell him, nah, this is not a kid's show, But now he's watching it. It's on. It's only been on for a minute, all right? And it's a cartoon, so he's standing in front of the TV, he's watching. He's never seen this cartoon before. And the scene that it was on, it was an itchy and scratchy scene in The Simpsons. They're watching Itchy and Scratchy. And Itchy is dressed up like Adolf Hitler. And he's in a bulldozer trying to run over Scratchy with the bulldozer, which has a giant swastika logo on it. And he does run over Scratchy, and then there's blood everywhere. And he got a swastika. And he got dressed like Hitler. That was my son's introduction to The Simpsons. So, we used to be, pretty relaxed. I'm sorry, the opposite. We used to be pretty vigilant about what we're going to allow them to watch. And then it got to more you know what? We know how to parent our kids. We know what they can and can't watch. And when they see something that's not appropriate, we have a conversation. And we keep it moving. So, all right, there's backlash about Cocaine Bear. Don't take your kid to see a movie with cocaine in the title. Unless you're all right with this kind of stuff. Unless you're cool with having a conversation. I will tell you, in the middle of the movie, my younger son, he's 11 right now. I told you the other day when we saw it, that early in the movie, he said to me, he goes, I need you to explain some things to me. Because he didn't understand what was happening with, the drugs and them going into the forest to fetch the rest of the cocaine that was lost. He didn't understand a lot. He wasn't following the story. Because he doesn't know about drugs, really, And I will tell you, though, at one point in the movie, you got the cocaine there, and there's some cocaine usage, and spoiler alert, a couple kids try cocaine in the movie. I mean, look, the movie's silly. A couple kids do cocaine. They eat it, actually. They don't know to snort it. A couple kids eat cocaine in the movie, and I turn to my son. I go, hey, you know not to do cocaine, right? So there was a moment in the movie where I wanted to make sure that I'm not setting him on a bad path. But if you're upset about Cocaine Bear and kids, don't take your kid to go see Cocaine Bear. Be a responsible parent. Or you take them and you have a conversation like I did, and it's all good. There you have it. So, how about this? I wake up today, I'm getting ready for the show, and then all of a sudden, I get a text message from my buddy. And he's asking me, what time do we want to meet at the Hard Rock tonight for the show? And I go to myself, oh shit, that's right. Greta Van Fleet is tonight at Hard Rock Live. I've had these tickets for a few months. Greta Van Fleet tonight at the Hard Rock Live. I totally forgot. If he did not say anything to me, I would not have remembered that I'm going to see Greta Van Fleet tonight. That's a nice little treat, right? You got a really cool event. You got something fun that you're doing this evening. I totally forgot about it. I haven't spent any time thinking about it. He's saying, what time do you want to get? And I wrote back, oh shit, I totally forgot. I haven't spent any time thinking about how I want to tackle the time situation tonight. I'll let you know. So that's a nice little treat. Wake up in the morning, expect, hey, I'm just doing the show. What am I going to do tonight? What's going on? And what's going on is I'm going to see Greta Van Fleet at the Hard Rock Live. We got tickets right there in the pit. I'm very excited about this. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. Love not remembering. And now you get a nice little treat. So there you have it. All right. So that's a little bit of what I got going on here today. So let's get to what had us in a good mood just to start the day anyway. The Florida Panthers last night won a big-time performance last night by your favorite little hockey team. Now, I declared them done last week. I think maybe the game after they lost to the Sabres. I declared them done. They're still really up against it. They're still going to have a very difficult time making the postseason. Panthers win last night, and we're going to get to it. We're going to get to the details. Panthers beat the best team in the Western Conference last night, Vegas Knights, 2-1. Tremendous game. Bobrovsky was incredible in net. He's been one of the best goaltenders in the league since the turn of the calendar. For 2023, so we're talking 2+ months, he's been one of the best goalies in the entire National Hockey League. And that is what it's going to take for them to make the playoffs. They're going to need... That's what it's going to take for them to make the playoffs. They're going to need Bobrovsky to stand on his head. And then on top of that, if you're going to do any kind of damage in the playoffs, Bobrovsky is going to need to stand on his head because you're going to face one of the best teams, be it probably Boston in the first round if you make it. The way that you advance in the Stanley Cup Finals is if your goalie carries you. So it would be pretty cool if the way that the Panthers make the playoffs is because of Bobrovsky, who has been obviously the much maligned goalie for the Panthers the last several years. And the way that you win playoff series is by your goalie playing out of this world. That's what you're getting right now, and that's why the Panthers are hanging around trying to make that. That's what it's going to take for them to make the playoffs, is that kind of performance you got last night and the kind of performance you've been getting from Bobrovsky really since the start of the 2023 year. So the Panthers win 2-1 last night. They're still 3 points back of number 2 Pittsburgh. They're 4 points back of number 1 New York. But no one's in between them anymore. The Panthers jumped Ottawa, Buffalo, and Washington last night. They're only 2 points ahead of those teams, and 2 of those teams have 2 games in hand. But the Panthers have leapfrogged them, at least now for the time being. The Penguins, who are 3 up on the Panthers, have 2 games in hand. That's bad. But the Panthers have a game in hand on the Islanders, who are 4 points ahead of them. But like I said, the good news is the Panthers are... There's no one separating them in the 2 wildcard teams now. They're ahead of those teams. And Steve Goldstein, made a great point last night. Tie-break situation is regulation wins, right? The Panthers have 32 wins overall this season. Regulation wins is one of the big tiebreakers. The Panthers have 28 regulation wins. Of all those teams I just mentioned there, that are fighting for this last playoff spot, or the 2 playoff spots, the only one of those teams who has more regulation wins than the Panthers are the Islanders. The Islanders have 29. The Panthers have 28. Penguins, for that matter, 24. Ottawa, 25. Buffalo, 24. Washington, 24. Panthers have 28. That's a big deal. That's an important tiebreak right there. So they find themselves 3 points back still. Next up for the Panthers is Friday against Chicago. They're the worst team. The Panthers just beat the best team in the Western Conference. Now you got to take it to the worst team in the Western Conference. No effing around. That's coming up on Friday night, FLA Live Arena. Let's go to last night, though, all right? Few minutes, about 5 minutes into the first period, maybe a little less than 5 minutes into the first period, the Panthers are dominating this game from the get-go.
A couple of odd man rushes, the Panthers. That Duclair chance alone in front. And here they come again. This is Lomberg shooting, score! Ryan Lomberg beats Hill upstairs.
You love the celly, you love the hair. And what a huge goal for the Panthers to take the lead, and they deserve it.
Yes, Ryan Lomberg there. 9th goal of the season gets the Panthers on board. Panthers were up 1-0 after the first period. Into the second period, the Panthers, they get some breathing room.
Panthers forwards have to hustle to help out the defense.
Cousins, after the loose puck, has a man in front. Duclair to Barkov. He scores! 2-0.
Another Vegas turnover in the neutral zone. The Panthers capitalize on it. And what an effort there by Cousins to get to that puck. Alexander Barkov will finish it off.
The captain gets just his 17th goal of the season. It's a big one. It ended up being the game winner because the Panthers, they would give up a goal in that second period. It's 2-1 after 2 periods. The Panthers then hold on in the third. Excellent goaltending by Bobrovsky. The Panthers hang on. They took a ton of penalties. They always take a ton of penalties. But the Panthers, they hang on. They win a monster game 2-1. And I told you this, where it is the one positive. It's the only positive of the Panthers being on the cusp here of missing the playoffs. The Panthers haven't gotten off to such a bad start this year. The only positive is every game is so huge now. Every game feels like a playoff game. There are playoff implications every single night on the ice. So last night, I don't know if you're like me, you were on the edge of your couch cushion. You're very into the last few minutes of the game. It's a super exciting atmosphere at FLA Live Arena. It's the only positive to what's going on with the Panthers right now is that they may wind up missing the playoffs, but it feels like you're in playoff games right now. Every game is so important. And the NBA doesn't give you that. The NBA regular season doesn't play like that. Guys barely try. They don't care. But the Panthers, because of the trouble they got themselves into right now, it feels like a playoff game every single night. So, just a huge win last night for the Panthers. And like I said, back at it on Friday against Chicago. Monster win over Vegas. Monster win. Very, very pleased. So, real quick here, if I can give you a little bit of Dolphins news. You saw yesterday the Dolphins announced a post-June 1 cut. They're going to cut Byron Jones. I feel weird, like, celebrating. It's going to save them a lot of money. I feel weird celebrating Byron Jones being cut because my first thought is, peace out, good riddance. You know, he didn't play at all this past year. Somebody was lying early in the season, be it him of the severity of the injury or the team telling you they expect him to be ready for regular season week 1. Someone was lying, and that set the table for Dolphin fans to be angry when he never actually plays. So there's a part of me that's like, good riddance, get lost. But then it's kind of like, yeah, you know, he told us last week, right, that he can't run and jump anymore. And so I kind of feel bad about that part because now I think he comes off looking silly where he's like bemoaning the injuries and football. And I mean, he didn't know. He didn't know. that you play football, it's really dangerous, it's really violent, and there are injuries. He didn't know the risks, apparently, that come along with playing football. Listen, it's not 1960. We're pretty well aware. You got it. Like, no one is being kept in the dark anymore. So that part, I thought he looked kind of dumb. I thought he looked stupid. But, he can't run, he can't jump. I don't want to celebrate that they're getting rid of him, because that seems really mean. So, anyway, they're getting rid of Byron Jones. But here's something that I got to mention here in regards to the Dolphins. So I saw the news yesterday. Mike Pouncey is signing a one-day contract with the Dolphins to retire a Miami Dolphin. Does anyone care? It's a weird one to me because he played 7 years here. His last season with the Dolphins was 5 or 6 years ago. And to me, I think he appeared in one playoff game. To me, he represents a period that was an embarrassment for the Dolphins. Like Mike Pouncey's time, not his fault, he was really good. But Mike Pouncey's time with the Dolphins, it was scandal after scandal and embarrassment after embarrassment, and the team stunk. It's a weird one. Like, I don't know. I don't care about the Dolphins signing Mike Pouncey to a one-day contract and him retiring as a Dolphin. I don't have good memories of Mike Pouncey as a Dolphin. Not his fault. He was good. But that was not a good time period as a Dolphin fan. So this, I guess gesture, it doesn't mean anything to me. It's weird. So Mike Pouncey, he's going to retire as a Miami Dolphin if that's something that you're interested in. For me, not so much. Anyway, the big news, the Heat, by the way, Heat back in action tonight. I should mention that. The Heat back in action tonight as they have the final 2 games of this homestand. The Heat are 2-2 on the homestand. Lost the first 2 games. Sixers, terrible game. Knicks, great game, heartbreaker. And then beat Atlanta twice. Final 2 games here, very difficult. Really difficult homestand. Continues tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Kevin Love against his old team. Now, Kevin Love, of course, he missed the last game. Hip bruise, hip contusion. You had Max Strus who got the start. That means that Caleb Martin, he continues to come off the bench. If Love can't go tonight, I would expect the same thing because it worked out so well. You coach, he doesn't like shaking up the lineup if he doesn't have to. So he wants to bring someone off the bench, plug them into that starter spot so it doesn't screw up the rest of the bench rotation. All right, so I hope that Love is back tonight. I'm not sure what his right now he's listed as questionable. All right, so there you have it. And Kyle Lowry, of course. By the way, Kyle Lowry's out. He's out. Yeah, Kyle Lowry's out tonight. So that's the question mark for tonight is whether or not Love can go. Who cares about Lowry? He can never put on a Heat uniform again, and it wouldn't be fast enough. But tonight and Friday, looking to finish this homestand strong against a very tough Cleveland team who's 5 games, 5 losses fewer than Miami. They're number 4. The Heat are not going to catch them. Even if the Heat won both these games this week, you're still 3 back. The Heat, and look, I don't know if the Heat are going to be able to catch number 6 Brooklyn. I think the Heat's MO right now, believe it or not, and it kind of stinks that this is what it's come down to. The Heat are 3 back in the loss column of Brooklyn. I think the Heat's MO right now needs to be stay ahead of Atlanta. Stay in that number 7 spot. And I got news for you. I wouldn't mind the Heat playing in a playing game. I think it'd be fun as hell. It's a one and done. Well, it's not. If you're the 7 or 8, you have 2 chances to win 1. But you're the 7 seed. You got the play-in game. It's a home playoff game, essentially. And as it shapes up right now, you would face Boston in the first round. So 7, 8, if you're in the play-in spot, you're likely going to face Boston or Milwaukee in the first round. Playing Boston would be fun as hell. Boston right now has lost 3 in a row. An entire season's worth of dominating now is going to wind up being forgotten because Milwaukee's distancing themselves as number 1 in the East. Boston is only a game up on number 3 Philadelphia. If you're a Heat fan, you would love to play Philly in the first round. I don't think anyone's afraid of Philly. Boston would be Boston's a lot better than the Heat this year. Boston would be a lot of fun because I think you could put a real scare into Boston. I'm not against the Heat having a big in the play-in. I think it could be fun to have a play-in, play-off game as the number 7 seed, potentially hosting this Hawks team that you just beat twice. And you won the season series 3 out of 4. But anyway, so that's tonight. Heat and Cavaliers. And the Knicks, by the way, had their, if I can tell you real quick what took place in the NBA last night. The Knicks had their, I think it was 9-game win streak snapped at home to Charlotte. That's a bad loss. I mean, they won 9 in a row, so you feel good, but the streak is stopped at home to Charlotte. That's a bad job. Dallas ended up getting the rare win at home over Utah with Kyrie and Luka Doncic playing together. Golden State sucks on the road. They lost at Oklahoma City. The Lakers held off a Ja Morantless Memphis team last night. Anthony Davis got smacked in the nose, bleeding everywhere. Pau Gasol, jersey retirement. We'll get to that. And Brooklyn, Brooklyn stayed ahead of Miami by 3 games in the loss column with last night's win in Houston. Otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. That's what took place in the NBA last night. But the big story, the big news right now. Oh, actually, I may as well do this right now, too, since we're talking NBA. Before I get to the NFL, before we get to the Lamar Jackson stuff. So, this has been a debate. You got to embrace it. You got to embrace debate. This has been a debate. There's been a conversation over the last few weeks on television. First Take. And yesterday you got Stephen A. Smith. You got Kendrick Perkins. You got J.J. Redick. Now, I'm not a fan of J.J. Redick. I like Goon Time. I like Kendrick Perkins. I'm not a fan of J.J. Redick. He's super condescending. Whether intentionally, I believe it is, or unintentionally, he belittles those he's talking to. He makes them look stupid. He tries to make them sound stupid, I believe. And I don't think he's good for the show. But anyway, not the first time J.J. Redick did this with Christopher Russo. Now he's doing it with Kendrick Perkins to make it out to be a racist type thing. Now, he made it out that Chris Russo is racist when talking about the older players and the players today. I don't think he's necessarily making Kendrick Perkins out to be racist, but he's saying that it's a false narrative that Kendrick Perkins is creating, that the MVP voting is race-driven. So, Perkins has been anti-Jokic. He gave you the comparisons with Russell Westbrook. Everybody busts on Russell Westbrook. Why does Russell Westbrook get all the criticism for stat padding and Nikola Jokic doesn't? Well, because Nikola Jokic's team is in first place. And Nikola Jokic's team literally never loses when he gets a triple-double. Russell Westbrook, when he averaged a triple-double and won the MVP, his team was 6th place. And J.J. Redick here calls out Perkins hard yesterday on First Take for that opinion.
I want to just say something. Stephen A., I mean no offense to you, and I mean no offense to First Take, because I think this show is extremely valuable. It is an honor to be on this desk every day. It really is. But what we've just witnessed is the problem with this show, where we create narratives that do not exist in reality. The implication, what you are implying, that the white voters that vote on NBA are racist, that they favor white people. You just said that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That is exactly what you implied, Kendrick Perkins. That is exactly what you implied. Secondly, hold on.
I did not call. I stated the facts. And you're not about to sit up.
We all know what you implied the other day. We all know what you implied just now. Hold on.
I stated
one at a time.
It's the facts.
One at a time.
It's the facts.
One at a time.
It's the facts.
Okay.
Very heated on the set of First Take. Low-key, funniest part of that clip is Stephen A. Smith playing moderator. All right, one at a time. Low-key funniest part. But that's what you meant. No, I didn't. That's what you meant. No, I didn't. Very personal. Well, I don't know personal, but it got a little bit ugly there with those two. Here's what I'll say. I don't agree with Perkins because Jokic's team is in first place. But I especially think Perkins' argument, and I think Redick brought this up, I especially think Perkins' argument is super flawed Because Perkins is essentially stat padding. And what I mean by that is, Perkins talks about after 1990, starting in 91, no other league MVP has finished below the top 10 in scoring. And he mentions a couple guys, Nash, Nowitzki. White guys. Canadian, you're German, and now you got Jokic, Serbian. White guys, though, right? But he's stat padding here, where, wow, why is he saying since 1991? That's interesting, because in 1987, and in 1989, and in 1990, the cutoff, Magic Johnson won MVP those years. Magic Johnson was like in the low 20s in scoring in the NBA those years. So that's rather convenient that Kendrick Perkins' cutoff for MVPs outside the top 10 in scoring are only white guys. He cuts it off after the 3 out of 5 years, that Magic Johnson, actually 3 out of 4 years, that Magic Johnson won MVP well outside the top 10 in scoring. You lose You lose credibility when you do that. That's really convenient. You lose credibility when you do that, Perk. So, I can't agree with what Perkins is saying here. Do I believe that race... Look, I think race plays a role in practically everything in our society, especially in this country. And race obviously can play a role when it comes to the NBA. Certain awards, the way we treat certain players, the way we view their game, the way we talk about certain players. Race certainly plays a part. But this guy, Jokic, is about to go on his 3rd straight MVP. He's having another historic season. His team is in 1st place. His team wasn't in 1st place last year or the year before when he won MVP. Now they're even better this season that he's having. So if he's having similar seasons when he won MVP in the past, and now his team is even better, how do you not give him the MVP again? I don't think race has anything. I think race plays a major role in almost everything in our society. I don't think it's why Nikola Jokic is about to win his 3rd consecutive MVP. And like I said, Perk's argument, he's stat padding. Perk's argument and his credibility take a major hit when we're cutting it off conveniently in 1991, right after Magic, 3 out of 4 years, won the MVP outside of the top 10 in scoring. That's a bad job, Perk. That's a bad job out of you. No other way to look at it.